Hello. Today I'm going to be talking about The Children of Hurin by J.R.R. Tolkien. Edited, and this is an important part. You gotta squint to read this part. Edited by Christopher Tolkien. That'll come into play in a little bit here. Now, this is for the uninitiated, this is a book in the Lord of the Rings or Middle Earth mythos, and I was just in the mood for a tale of knights of old, chivalrous tales of knights of ye and yore. You know, all the craziness that's been going on. You know, you can't help but yearn for a bit of escapism and some pure, true escapism, and that entails anything made pre social media for sure. And there's nothing more comfy. There's nothing more that gives you more of a warm, satisfied, ennobled feeling than the Lord of the Rings. And this offered some of that, but it was probably not the best example of that shining beacon in the night. This is a sort of, for starters, it's a darker tale, and it's also sort of less consequential. It almost has more of that when those perverts, they say like, we got to make our fantasies more edgy, we got to have more incest, make it more like Game of Thrones. This almost broaches on that sort of more I don't know. When people say that, people are wrong when they say that Lord of the Rings is a story of black and white, good versus evil. It's not strictly. Those people are dummies. There's lots of gray areas in the Lord of the Rings. There's lots of stuff about especially in the aspect of Boromir. He has to. It's about overcoming your own nature. There's real shit there at the heart of it, but this is more like that, I guess. You follow a guy who's not necessarily heroic. He's athletic, he's sporty, he's not necessarily 100% heroic, I guess. He's a complicated fellow. And it's less consequential because it's less it's sort of less steeped in the more central conflict of Lord of the Rings. It's less all encompassing. It's very focused on a certain segment of a broader struggle. And I think that sort of makes it less engaging. It's almost just like, again, I'll get into this in a minute. It straddles this sort of fan fiction type element, this sort of video game DLC sort of afterthought type element to it. There's a reason why he didn't finish the book. He started or wrote certain sections of it here and there, but there's a reason why Tolkien, the senior, didn't throw himself whole hog into this specific story and, put all his time and energy into a broader, more all-encompassing type thing. This is about, there's a guy named Hurin, and it's a little confusing in the beginning. You gotta pay close attention. There's Hurin and Turin. It mostly follows Turin, but in the beginning you're sort of flip-flopping a little bit between Hurin and Turin. So it follows Turin on it's hard to even track like the A to B's. He's sort of just a sort of ragamuffin going on different adventures. He's sort of a drifter. He's I don't really remember if he's like, I need to look for this person, I need to go here for this reason. And there's again, maybe that's me being a dummy, or that's just a product of it, again, feeling less immediate. You know, you felt the immediacy of the Lord of the Rings, the oppression of Sauron's evil eye. And this, you just sort of get the general color of Morgoth's. Morgoth's sort of been kept at bay, for a lot of the kingdom. So I don't know. It doesn't have as much as a feeling of urgency. It's like a piece of a prologue. But as I was reading it, it didn't seem like something written by Tolkien. And maybe that's just misremembering things. Certainly their narrative prosaic style of the Lord of the Rings seemed more clear than in this. This one has some, like, I don't know, odd grammatical choices, and it's like, are these bizarre grammatical choices, or are these like, am I too much of a dummy? Like, are these like some sort of traditional scholarly flourishes that I'm not quite up on? The Lord of the Rings certainly has those as well, but I don't know. It just had a certain clarity to it that this didn't seem to have at times. So I was reading the appendices, trying to figure out how the hell this book was put together. You're always skeptical when you hear about these lost works of famous authors. Did Christopher Tolkien just sort of manufacture the whole thing and slap his daddy's name on it? And according to him, in the appendices, it's all cobbled together from different drafts of different. It's sort of vague. Again, like, it's sort of cobbled together from different vagues, or different drafts of different pieces. Some of them were previously published in Unfinished Tales or the Silmarillion. And he mentioned something of, like, they were written. It does have this sense of they were written at different time periods and just sort of stitched together. There's not, you do get the sense that Tolkien Sr. says that he left, like, he didn't do a lot of his own embellishments. And, that he didn't do too much editorializing. Like, he did a few stitchings here and there of passages, but it does have that sense of just, I don't know, sort of scattershot. What am I trying to say? Am I having a stroke? Rather, if you had, sat down and sort of massaged the story all in one sitting from beginning to end, it certainly seemed like it had a patchworked sort of thing to it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, and again, it's sort of darker. There's some incest. When you think of Lord of the Rings, you don't immediately think of incest. That doesn't immediately come to mind. The final conflict is with a dragon, and I find dragons to be the blandest part of the Lord of the Rings mythos. When I think of Lord of the Rings, I also don't think of dragons. You think that when you think of broader fantasy, but when I think of the Lord of the Rings, I think of a more gothic element, ring wraiths and more grotesque, creatures. You don't normally think of dragons or magic spells. I don't know. It was just sort of underwhelming in that regard. In the beginning, it did sort of have that, heroic battles. You sound the battle cry. It had some of that, that helped sort of shake off the pandemic gloom. But then it sort of turns away from all that and becomes a smaller, more focused, more I guess character-driven story. He accidentally kills a lot of people, it seems like. Like, someone's running through the woods and he just shoves his sword into them. He doesn't know what's going on. There seemed to be a lot of that happening. Anyway, it was okay. I would recommend reading it if you are if you like the Lord of the Rings and you've dipped into everything else and you want to sort of dip into the extra supplemental material. I would say definitely treat it as that. Treat it as something supplemental. That's, I don't know. It's not the best way that you want to approach a material, but it really is sort of just one corner of a more exciting whole. Anyway, that's it. Goodbye.